Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. You are watching another Facebook Live, which is part of the European Youth Event, or I-2020 online. As you might know, this event was supposed to happen in Strasbourg at the end of May. We were expecting more than 8,000 people, but due to the coronavirus pandemic, we had to go entirely online. Now this I-2020 online is a part of the larger campaign, Europeans Against COVID. If you want to learn more about what EU is doing to combat the pandemic and its consequences, you can check this hashtag Europeans Against COVID on social media. You will find a lot of content because EU is really doing a lot to combat the pandemic. It's fighting on several fronts, be it economy, healthcare, research, help to enterprises and farmers, etc., etc. My name is Petra. I work in the web communications team of European Parliament, and today my guest is Tomislav Pancirov from Croatia. Welcome, Tomislav, and thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Few words about you before we start. I know them because there is a lot. So you are a digital communication expert. You have a startup, corporate, and entrepreneurial work experience. You have been working for some of the largest clients in your region, focusing on strategic positioning and branding through digital channels, high-quality content creation, and personalized education. You are also a lecturer on lifelong learning program at the Faculty of Economics at the University of Rijeka. You are a columnist for different media. You have your own YouTube channel and blog, and you have been also collaborating with European Commission. Is it everything?
Exactly.
Did I forget something? So today with Tomislav, we will be talking about YouTube, about how the YouTubers reacted to the coronavirus pandemic, what we can learn from this situation, what will change in the future, and also about the responsibility that video influencers have, especially in these times of pandemic. If you have any questions, you can write them in the comments section. We will choose the best ones, and then Tomislav will answer them later on. So Tomislav, thank you again for joining us. My first question is how the YouTube community reacted during the pandemic. Can you tell us some good and bad examples of influencers sharing content during these times?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that question. And first of all, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to this great event. So about how did the YouTube community react? So when we look at the influencers during these times, what we saw was a huge lack of empathy. A lot of influencers, when this pandemic started, they started doing content in the same way that they were doing content before. So if you look at the situations, that there are a lot of influencers on YouTube that are actually lifestyle influencers, and for those people to stay in their homes, to not be able to travel, to not be able to have new fashion trends, new gastro experiences, or something like that, is really a big deal breaker. But what we saw during these times was actually that the people that are following those influencers and actually giving the power to those influencers were actually enraged when they didn't act accordingly, because they felt that they are insensitive to the current situation. If you look at the situation that we are in, everyone was in the same situation, but at the same time, a lot of influencers were actually in a privileged position. There have been some bad cases where maybe influencers got coronavirus testing where when there wasn't coronavirus testing available to a huge audience, just because they had the means, not just financial means, but also had connections to get that tested. And what they did, they showed this to their YouTube communities. So this was really a huge problem. YouTube acted accordingly straight away. What YouTube did was they decided to put a stop to monetization on all the videos that are mentioning coronavirus. They have this in their guidelines as when any natural catastrophe happens, some huge event, they stop the monetization on those topics just to ensure that somebody is not making money when people are actually dying, that they have terrible situations. Afterwards, what YouTube did, they lifted the ban and they decided to let people who are actually giving quality information about the coronavirus to stay ahead and to get that content monetized. In these times, we actually saw this connection between the content creator on one side and of the sponsor on the other side. So what happened was people who did the content solely for the sponsored ones, so solely for sponsors, actually had a huge problem, because a lot of influencers actually don't have a business strategy, because this is a business in the end. And when you have a business that is solely relying on one stream of income, that's a huge problem. And a lot of influencers now started doing a lot of things that they didn't do before. In example, a lot of them started producing, let's say, their products, started working 9-to-5 jobs all of a sudden, because now they felt that they need to do it to get some sources of income. So this would be maybe something that we can primarily learn from this. So when you have a business, and if influencing, producing content is your business, it should never be your only source of income. Not just because of this pandemic situation. I mean, this will pass, will surpass everything. But on the other hand, what happens when you are producing content and when you rely solely on sponsors? The situation that happens is that actually sponsors are creating your narrative. And this is very dangerous, because when you only get information out to the people that you're getting paid for to do, then you're not authentic. And people started realizing this. There have been a lot of people commenting badly on influencers' content on YouTube, saying, you know, I don't know, in example, people that were saying, we're all in this together, it's all the same. And then suddenly they post the content where they escaped their city. In example, where the city was in lockdown, they escaped their city and go to another region, which was very irresponsible of them, because this is exactly how the virus is spreading. So in this moment, what we can also learn from that is that people learn by seeing what you do. You know, you cannot be saying, just putting hashtag stay home, hashtag be responsible, and on other side not be responsible. So this was a huge problem. What I think that mainly people need to realize when they're doing their YouTube content in times like this, but also generally, empathy is something that is really important, you know, because people are following those influencers because they feel that they can relate to them, that they are not some huge celebrities. They're just like us. We're all the same. They just have some other means. They're creating content, but at the same moment, when you don't feel that empathetic connection, everything is lost. And in a way, I'm sure that after this, there will be a lot of new people that will come to the scene just because of this, because maybe when they were quarantined, when they were staying at home, they started producing content, and at the same time, they didn't have the same old influencer mindset that these influencers had. So that is why people will start thinking about them, you know, he's giving me something more. He's giving me authentic feeling. Because of course, those influencers were also scared, you know. They also had a feeling that something bad will maybe happen. What is somebody doing for me? But at the same time, they should have been more authentic to their public. On the other side, there are some good examples where influencers that are producing, let's say, makeup products, decided to produce sanitary products, hygiene products that are now very in high demand. People producing masks, people educating other people on what is being done to make sure that they know that everything will be okay. I think at the end of the day, no matter what topic you're producing, no matter how you're influencing people, what people want from you is a feeling that everything will be okay. They want that calmness. So people want to know, they need reassurance that we will surpass this. And some influencers really did it great. They sort of stepped up in the same way, let's say, that the politicians stepped up, they also stepped up towards their communities. And this is definitely something that we can learn for any future situations like this.
Mm-hmm. So also, when you were preparing this interview, you were telling me about responsibility of influencers towards the followers, which links to this what you just said. Because like if somebody has a lot of followers, they cannot just afford to post any random content that doesn't meet some criteria. And these people, they have a trust of their followers, and they cannot serve them any information which is unprecise, unverified, etc., etc. And this doesn't go only for the big influencers. Like this is the same also for people who have few followers. If you have 500 followers or 500,000, you are responsible from what you put in the outside world, and especially in the situations like this when there is a lot in stake. So can you tell us a bit more about this responsibility?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I would like to talk about big numbers. Today, we're used to just thinking about the big numbers. So if you don't have 50,000 followers, it doesn't matter what you post. That's not the truth. I mean, if we're looking how the information spread during these times, and especially false information, somebody called it well that it's infodemic in the time of the pandemic. So information being spread out, false information being spread out inaccordingly. That was a huge problem. And mostly who shared this information? People that were sending it to their friends, to their family. A lot of people got voice messages, tomorrow Zagreb will be quarantined, there will be no food, no supplies, go to the stores and buy as much as you can. I mean, of course, a lot of people were saying, that's false, but some people really believed that. Some people really went to the stores and bought everything, which was, of course, a huge issue for those, let's say, elderly people that cannot buy huge amounts of food. So what we should always think about when we have any media, and when you're posting something, you are the media. So if you watch TV and you saw false information, what would happen? Maybe somebody would sue that television. Maybe people would stop watching it. And it's same when you have even, I don't know, 15 friends, 100, 1,000 friends on Facebook, on Instagram. So you are the media. And if you're helping spreading false information, you're doing really something bad for the whole society. So we should really be aware of anything that we post on these channels and always have a sense of purpose. I think this is really important to think in maybe a larger scale, not just about this situation, but in general. Each content should serve a purpose. So if you're thinking about posting something, ask yourself, what purpose does this have? Will this actually bring good to the society, to your followers? Is it informative? Is it something that will inspire them? Is it something that will make them laugh? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But you should always think about the purpose of the content that you're posting. Other than that, when we are talking about the responsibility, what you should also think about is what is the true information. So what are you sharing? What I noticed in this period is that a lot of people, even influencers, were sharing a lot of information that were not checked, that were actually false news. So in that time, when you have a lot of false news spreading, what happens is a lot of people think that this information is true. So if you hear a false information and you see that 50 of your friends spread that false information, first thing would be, oh, is this false information actually a correct information? Because everybody shared that information. So this is really, really important. And when we're talking about content production for influencers, the responsibility is huge. We saw this in a bad way, let's say, even before the coronavirus, when people were spreading some social media trends where people, mostly young population, was injuring themselves. Let's say when they were sucking on the glass to have a lip challenge, to have plumper lips from this. A lot of this that they were, I don't know, eating detergent, eating Tide Pods because it was a TikTok challenge. These are huge issues. So whenever you're posting something, you should definitely think about the consequences of it, but not just the consequences of it in a way how will your influencers react, but also maybe legal consequences. Because if you're spreading panic, what you're doing is mostly illegal in a lot of countries. So this should really, really be on your mind, and to have a clear sense that you really are the media.
Mm-hmm. So it can really have like much larger consequences than we can sometimes imagine. No?
Definitely, yeah.
So what do you think? What we can learn from all this situation? What can be like your main takeaway, and will it create some new opportunities? Will it somehow reshuffle the system?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at the way that, let's say, YouTube influencer scene was living up until now, what they did was they were mostly living off of, let's say, free travel, going to events, having fun. And this is all great, of course. But what we need to think about is, what is the meaning of all that? Why are those people following you? So an example, if you started out as a, let's say, fashion influencer, and people were looking at the dresses that you showed them that were maybe affordable for them, afterwards, when you get millions of followers, when you're wearing only the designer stuff, can people relate to you? You know, who are you to those people? So what we need to think about always is to really stay humble, you know, stay humble and think about those people. Again, what we said before, the empathy. So empathy for the people that are following you. And maybe most importantly of all, those people are not numbers. They're people, you know. And we can talk about this if you're a micro-influencer or if you have 1 million followers. You have people that are following you and you should respect them. What I think will happen now, I think that a lot of people will really start thinking about the way that their life unfolds. I mean, not just in an influencer sense, but this will also translate to the YouTube content. Because a lot of people that were in some sort of situations that were not maybe best for them, if you look at the work they did or something like that, I think a lot of those people will now start trying to make their lives better. And what will happen out of it? It will be better content, and it will be something that will inspire more people.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We have a question from Sabine. She's asking that with the large amounts of information on Corona, how do you suggest to still catch attention?
Okay, great. So what we saw from all of this is actually that a majority of people is really not bothered to look at the information that is being spread on the coronavirus every day. You know, they got fed up of everything. So we can apply the same content production strategy to this as to any other topic. So what we should think about it when we are producing content, 80% of the content should be something that has free additional value for the viewer. It can be entertaining. It can be something that educates them, that inspires them, that shows them a certain lifestyle. But 20% of that content can be something that we are giving out to them, that we are maybe, if we're selling a product, that would be the sales pitch. And if we're not, in this case, this can be the information that is really important. So what I would say is think of the content that people want to look at. So produce maybe a video that is entertaining, that is funny, and throw in something that is going to be informative for them. We saw a lot of situations like this on TikTok that later translated to YouTube in a way that they were doing, people were doing, let's say, funny dances and doing some challenges where they actually put some really valuable information about the coronavirus and give this information to people in that way. So always think about the viewer and always think how you will entertain the viewer, what you will give to the viewer. Because if you're just producing videos that are saying, you know, I need to spread this information out, I'm doing this, this is about me, in the end, do people really care? No. They want something that will entertain them in that moment. And by Google Consumer Barometer, the main reason why people watch YouTube, first is entertainment, second is how to do something. So if you show them how to do something, you can then put the informations that are maybe not that attractive inside of that.
Mm-hmm. We have another question from Mathieu. He's asking, what is your perspective on the infodemic and the fragmentation of national media audiences, moving from a few trustable or analog sources, like newspapers, broadcasting organizations, to a more diverse media landscape, such as influencers, blogs, online newspapers, social media source platforms, etc.? Is it contributing to the post-truth era and fake news, according to you?
Yeah, I mean, in these times, what is really important is actually educating people on true sources. In Croatia, we have a website, which is a fact-checking website. I'm sure a lot of other countries also have it, where they are checking the information that is being spread on any media, and they're actually saying, no, this is the true context of this. This is fake because it was not looked as in the whole picture. So I think that I wouldn't call it, let's say, how is it, post-truth era and fake news. Of course, a lot of fake news is being spread, and what is really maybe the most dangerous thing in these times is actually that there are a lot of real fakes where artificial intelligence is producing videos. In example of some, we saw this in example of some politicians where they artificial intelligence analyzed the videos where they were talking, and afterwards I can put that politician on my face and say something that I want people to think that this politician said. This is really, really dangerous. But on the other hand, I'm sure that now more than ever, those, especially those influencers that have authenticity, that people trust, when they're aligned in the right way with truthful sources of information, will show people the right way. And also something that I would like to mention, this was also in general a problem, and now it was even more visible. If you're an influencer, you cannot be doing things just for money. So you need to think about what information needs to be spread. So if, in example, you're doing, let's say, a collaboration with the European Parliament, you know, they're doing a campaign with you, and the coronavirus crisis comes up, what you need to do, you need to spread those informations that they are putting out without being in a campaign, you know. You're a responsible citizen. So we should always think how to actually, if we're lucky enough to have the audiences that are following us, what we should do. And those times we should actually support the organizations and help the spread of the verified information.
This is how it was done in Finland. It was a nice example of government collaborating with influencers, that the influencers took it as a civic duty and were spreading the information from the government without any remuneration, which was a very nice initiative.
It's just responsible behavior, nothing else. Not everything can be paid, not in business, not in very important times like this.
Exactly. I agree with you. Yeah. Another question from me. So how the influencers will need to adapt? Do you have any other ideas about this? How the future will look for them?
Well, if we're talking about the influencers, I'm sure that a lot of them will actually diversify their sources of income, not just rely on, let's say, YouTube monetization, not just rely on sponsors. But on the other hand, what I'm sure of is that people will not expect the same content out of them. What we saw in these times is that some influencers started posting old content. They started showing, if you're a lifestyle influencer, making videos of, let's say, top 10 trips that I did. And of course, people do want to have fun. They want entertainment. But on the other side, people also want the truth. They want to see the authentic you. And I think that a lot of influencers will need to adapt and really think about it. How much do people want to see you buying, if we're talking about fashion, buying, 10th dress, bag or something like that in the times when some people are actually dying, and is it really empathetic of you to talk about that in those times? And what's really important is that this does not apply only to YouTube influencers. This also applies to brands, to big companies. There have been a few scandals, of huge global companies that in these times maybe said to their workers, you should come and work, even though everyone suggested social distancing. And they were like, you should come and work. This is the responsible thing because we are going to produce, I don't know, some fashion item. Really? So what will happen? I think that a lot of people will realize what really matters and maybe then align it to their strategy, to their content, because entertainment will not die out. I mean, people always want those sort of lifestyle content to have. On the other side, I think that a lot of people are now really aware of the sustainability of what is happening behind the curtains, of the impacts that we have, because we saw the nature actually, breathing air again. So because we stopped, I don't know, traveling so much, is traveling a lot sustainable? Should we maybe adapt something to it? Should we look at the sources of the items that we're buying? And this is something that is really important and that people are now starting to think about when they were a lot of at home. They didn't have a lot of, let's say, people convincing them to buy something. So they got to think about this. And sustainability will definitely be one key topic that all the influencers will need to adapt to.
Yeah, I hope it will go like this, because I think the main lesson of the whole pandemic is that it learned us to distinguish what's important and what's not so important. So I hope that also influencers will be posting more serious content, not only some futile things. So
yeah, definitely. People will always want entertainment, and from those people, but you need to be diverse. You're a complete person. You sometimes have fun. You sometimes have a really serious thing. You sometimes learn something. You sometimes feel bad. Just show that. Just be authentic. And people want to see that. They want to meet you as a person in the YouTube sense. But you can only do this if you really are authentic. Because if you're fake, if you're showing a fake lifestyle, if you're just doing something because it's a trend on YouTube, then it will not end well, because trends come and go and people stay. People that have real business strategies for doing content.
Exactly. Do you have any other tips for people who are following us? If, for example, if some of them would like to grow their social media audiences and become influencers or micro influencers themselves, do you have some other tips and tricks to share with them?
Yeah, well, definitely, I would say. So, first of all, I would now come back to that purpose. So, what do you want to do? I mean, if you're thinking about influencing someone, why do you want to influence someone? Because if you have the wrong reasons behind it, it will end bad. And let me tell you why. So, if I want to live the influencer lifestyle, if I want to go to events to get PR packages and just to be famous for it, because I think that this will bring me happiness, that's a huge problem. You know, so this is the same as people, I don't know, 10 years ago wanted to be movie stars, you know, thinking that it will get them to a place in life where they would be happy. So if you want to influence someone, why do you want to influence it? What are your topics? Do you want to talk about sustainability? Do you want to talk to people about education? I mean, let's say, I'm going to give you my example. So when I left my last company, I mean, all the companies that I worked for, I've realized that I'm not happy working for someone because I do not align with their sense of purpose in business. I wanted to work in a way that it is purposeful, but also to have a personal work-life balance. This is really important to me. This is what I call a holistic approach to business. So I think that this is really, really important. So first of all, why are you doing it? I decided to start my YouTube channel, my blog, LinkedIn, and everything to show people that, in example, you can be a self-made person working in my case, media communications, that can actually do things their own way. One of the most important things for me was to show that you do not need to have an office to work. I'm really creative person, and I wanted to work outside of the office and to travel, to be one day in Zadar, one day in Rijeka, one day in Zagreb, and to enjoy our beautiful Croatia and other countries, of course. So what I did is I decided to become a digital nomad, to go off grid, let's say. And what is really funny about it, I was talking about that for maybe 3 years. And now that the situation happened, that everyone is working from home, a lot of media contacted me and asked me, can you tell us your story? How do people start working from home? What are your tips to start working from home? I did it not to become famous. I did it just to show people that are in the same place where I was, where I wasn't happy, where I needed my freedom and my creativity, to be like, you can do it. Because if I did it, I'm self-made, also you can do it. So this would be the first step. Then what you need to think about is sources of income. I mean, it is really important for a business. So if you want to do influencing as a business, I can tell you straight away that it will fail. Because first, maybe according to the brand development strategies, you need at least 2 years of producing content to have a brand, to develop a brand. And tell me, if you're somebody that is starting their, let's say, Instagram, their YouTube, and in those times you need money to buy food, what are you going to do? It just won't work. So this needs to be sort of a side project, a hobby that you're doing. And then the third thing that is really, really important is consistency. Consistency in 2 ways. First way, producing content. So you need to produce content consistently. You cannot stop just because you don't feel like it. I mean, of course, take breaks. You don't want to have a burnout. There are a lot of creator burnouts where people stop producing content because they cannot anymore. But if you have it balanced like everyone else, what you should actually do is have some sort of a schedule and decide, okay, I'm posting YouTube videos each Friday. So each Friday, post a YouTube video, produce it, batch the content, make it in advance, and then afterwards just push it out. So what you need to do is really be crazy a bit in a way that even though maybe you do not have 1,000 likes, 10,000 likes, you maybe have 10 likes. Be happy with that. So 10 people are listening to you. 10 people are supporting you. People are maybe sending you messages. Answer all those messages, answer all the comments, and just do this consistently. And I'm sure if you do this, there is no way that you will not succeed in this area. But it takes a lot of work. And this is something that we should really be aware of, whether it is content production or, let's say, entrepreneurship, which is really a hot topic and really intertwined with the content production today. So be consistent and be aware that it takes time and effort.
Mm-hmm. We don't have any more questions from the people. So do you have any other takeaways, something else you would like to share with the people who are watching us now?
Yeah, well, maybe I would like to say that at the end of the day, when I look at the whole YouTube scene and everything that happened, I think that we should all have an idea that we, as the viewers, are actually giving the power to the influencers. And let me tell you why. So if an influencer produces a video that is video with fake news, with unnecessary drama, and if we are watching all those videos, liking those videos, sharing those videos, what we're actually doing is we're giving them social currency. So likes and views, attention in today's time is the most expensive currency because people have a very short span of attention. So what the advertisers want, what the sponsors want, they want that attention. And those influencers are bringing the attention to the people. So now, if you see something and you do not agree with that, stop following that influencer. I mean, don't be mad at the end on the influencer because he's doing the same thing he did. Everyone can have their YouTube channel and speak whatever they want. But when you get the people watching it all the time, that's when you're important to some other people. And this is really what we should be aware all the time. So if we're giving space on our personal social media and following, liking, and commenting and reading blogs, etc., this is when we're giving them social currency. So actually, we are the ones. Each viewer is the one that is making the YouTube scene what it is. So if you say, you know, I don't like the YouTube drama, I don't like overspending, and you're watching people overspend and making drama all the time, then guess what? You're supporting it, you're enabling it. So in the end, this is also your responsibility. You're creating this landscape.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
I think we have a new question, maybe.
Is there any question?
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah, it says, is there a future for socio-political topics and social marketing on commercial platforms such as YouTube? For me, definitely. I would say that the commercialness of the platform has nothing to do with the fact that people can have really important topics on that platform. Because as I said before, we should always think about how to draw the viewers in, you know, how to show them what to do. An example, one video of mine that we did in a collaboration with the representation of the Commission in Croatia was a video where we wanted to show them some resources of what is the EU doing for them. So we didn't do a video where we said, this is what YouTube is doing for you. These are the examples that you can see. These are the tools that you can see, because actually nobody would want to see that. But what we did a video that we titled How to Change the World. You know, this was the first thing, how to change the world. So after, when you start watching it, we're talking about changing the world, and then we go down, 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 and we go to you. And we say, okay, first think about changing yourselves, think about your passions, think about your responsibilities, then go to the local level, then go to the regional level, and then go to the EU level. And okay, now these are the tools that you can use. These are the politics that are maybe helping you with this. This is the situation that is going to be beneficial for you. So with giving people that are inspired, you know, to change the world, the idea they can do it, and afterwards putting the tools that they can do. So I mean, the commercialness of the platform is important in a way if you're living off it. But as I said before, it is really important not to just live off YouTube, because if you're living just of that commercial platform, you're going to do anything for the views. And in the end, this is not something that is beneficial to anyone in the society. But on the other hand, when you have collaborations with institutions like this that have really, really important topics that need to be talked about, have really great tools that the EU can offer them, then you need to collaborate with the people that are doing content that is that really has value for them in the end, and it will get to the viewer.
Okay, so I don't see any more questions. Do you see some? Because I don't know. I don't. Looks like I don't see some.
I also see another one. Yeah, after the live session, can we mention the links for fact checking on the internet? Factcheck.org. In Croatia, it's called Faktograf, but maybe we can check for, is there some sort of let's say European fact checking?
There is also something European. The Commission launched it. We can put it in the comments later.
Yeah, that would be great.
There's something in all the languages.
Great, Matthew. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for being active. Okay, so I think, do you have something else to add, Tomislav, or can we wrap it up? What do you think?
Well, no, I think we definitely, other than, let's say, than YouTube, I think we live in a really special moment in time, and I think that the togetherness that we saw in these times, and what actually showed how important this huge European community is something that is going to give us even a more uplift into a better tomorrow and into a better collaboration on any level. So what I must say is really that I'm really happy about it, and I feel really privileged to live in these times and to have a platform where I can talk about really important topics.
Okay, thank you very much, Tomislav. It was very nice. I really liked our talk. Thank you very much for everybody for watching. I hope you liked it too. One other thing, this is the last week that we do the I online. There are still some activities planned, some Facebook lives. So if you want to join, just keep an eye on this webpage. Thank you, Tomislav. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening, everybody, and bye.
Great. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.